3, 1, 4, 2, 9 countdown, and we'll start recording and we'll go to it.
Cool. We have already hit the button, so thanks for all coming. We're going to see if my internet goes out and if we still stream to YouTube still.
All right. Hopefully we will. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to EPEW, and we are going to start right away. If you didn't already notice, this thing is going to go fast and furious, and we have just an all-star panel of people who are going to talk to us this morning. And I'm going to do a real fast intro to everybody who is in the house. There are 12 speakers. They're going to get one question. They're going to get 5 minutes. I'm going to speak very little after I do this intro, and that's going to be it. So here we go. Intro time, and this is going to go fast. First person is going to speak, and we won't, again, I'm just going to roll through this. First person is coming to us from Canada. He is Joey Fife. He is a physical education teacher in Montreal, founder of the physicaleducator.com PE chat, gifted presenter and keynote speaker, and he's on vacation right now. And so thank you for coming to us from the coast of Canada. Next up is Kristin Okura, the Penguin Lady, for those of you who don't know her, from Southern California, 2019 Capeford Middle School Teacher of the Year, and the driving force, one of the driving forces in the California Middle School workshop that's down in Fullerton. And she's also an open presenter. Next, we have Pat Vickroy, who's going to be here, retired elementary PE teacher from Gilroy, California. And for those of you who don't know him, he is the heart of the EPEW. He has probably presented at Cal Poly more than anybody in the history of Cal Poly because they want him there every year. And you'll see why. Next up is Nick Klein, teacher from Cortland, New York. He's nationally board certified. He's on the open development team, a national presenter extraordinaire, and he's the guy that puts a positive spin on everything in PE. Next is Calvin Tram Pleasure, former PE teacher, presently teaching kindergarten in El Cerrito, California for 33 years. He is a master teacher. I'm going to tell you, I just got to give you one quick thing on this. Calvin, I get to see Calvin teach. When you talk about master teachers, I've never seen anything like it. He's the master of master teachers. He's the best teacher I've ever seen in a classroom. So I'm just going to leave you with that. Next, we have Lisa Fogg. Lisa was a multi-time presenter at EPEW and has had an effect on many, many, many people in California. She's from Northern California, and she has an amazing story to tell. She's now teaching 5th grade. And I'll let Lisa tell you the rest of that. Next up, I haven't seen him in here yet, but Mr. Jim Ross, former PE teacher in Ridgewood, New Jersey. He is the Shape Aford EDA toy. He is presently a principal in Woodsville Elementary School, New Hampshire. He's one of the Jersey boys and one of the most gifted presenters probably ever. Next up, Mark Damiani. You'll see him shortly. He is the spirit and the bard of EPEW, great writer, gifted writer from the Santa Cruz area, and teaching in Watsonville at a K-8 school, the Lynn Scott Charter School in Watsonville, and you'll love his story. Next up, the Godfather, Artie Camilla, currently the executive director of North Carolina AFERD, the creator of great activities and founder of the National PE Institute. And like I said, the Godfather of PE. Nobody knows more about PE than Artie Camilla. Next is JD Hughes. He is a K-5 teacher in Douglas County, Georgia, former Shape Southern District Teacher of the Year. He's the creator, presenter, speaker, author, and founder of PE to the Max. He is also nationally board certified and is in the process, maybe he'll get a chance to share it, but is in the process of bringing somebody into his family. They're looking to adopt a child from Haiti. And next we have Ken Bell, currently professor and head of the teaching aspect department, K-12, PE student prep for Boise State in Idaho, national presenter. And he is, again, a person that has presented many times at EPEW. And last person we'll have up will be Peter St. Pierre. Peter is presently teaching at Kennesaw State University. He's also in the teacher prep program, so you get to see that. We also have Quinn Sanders in the house. Just saw Quinn. Morning, Quinn. All right, so here we go. We're going to get started right away. And let me just say one last thing, and that is that every single person here of all these 12 people have presented at one time or another at EPEW, going back probably as far as Artie being one of the first ones. And then probably, I'm not even sure who would have been next, but here we go. First question is going to be to Joey. And so you're up in Canada, so we want to find out what's going on up in Canada. First of all, what is going on in Canada? When are you guys going back? And what are you missing? Like, what do you feel like you're just missing out on?
Yeah, well, thanks, Chip. So let me give you a little story about how this whole stay-at-home process kind of started for us. So my wife and I our March break is the first 2 weeks of March, and we went down to South Carolina for a family vacation. We went down with our son. We're having a good time. Everything's great. And then we get back from the States into Canada, and we were hearing that this pandemic was kind of like gaining a lot of traction and it was kind of blowing up. And then next thing we know is we're told that if you're coming from outside of Canada, you have to self-isolate for 14 days. And as I was in the process of writing an email to my school to be like, hey, like, what am I supposed to do? I'm just coming from the States. We get the notification that school is going to be closed, and it's going to be closed until further notice. And then we also get told that, okay, well, we're going to switch to online learning. But the thing is, like, and I'm sure everybody like feels the exact same way here. There's no playbook for that. So we're all like, okay, we're going to go to online learning, but what does that mean? What does that look like? So I just got to work, and within 48 hours, our school had a digital learning plan, and we started distributing it to families. But we're building the plane as we're flying it, right? Like, we're making a ton of mistakes along the way. We're getting feedback, and we're trying to use that feedback as fast as possible. But here's what I want. The big mistake I made was that I got so caught up in the process of how do I teach online that I forgot about like what it is I actually teach. And what I teach is I teach kids. And I forgot about actually making sure that I was taking the time to make connections with the kids. I was getting this information and being like, parents don't like synchronous learning, so you have to go asynchronous, you have to prep things. So I was doing things on YouTube, I was sending out PDFs, I was doing all this kind of stuff, but I wasn't having any kind of time to just like connect with my students. And when I finally kind of realized like that I had this sense of loss, that I felt like I'd been robbed of something, I didn't understand what it was I was missing, I was like, I need to be doing something right now to connect with my kids and bring everybody together. And then I started doing those Zoom calls. I started breaking them off into smaller groups so that I could work with them individually and spend more time with them and just shoot the breeze with them, staying on Zoom like 20, 30, 40 minutes after a lesson just to be able to talk to the kids. And I wound up organizing this. In the spring, we have this big athletics event called the Halo Run, which is like, there's like 5,000 elementary kids from around Montreal all come to this place, and it's this big run, Mount Royal, which is a mountain on the middle of the island. And there wasn't going to be a Halo Run because all athletics were canceled. So I was like, how could I create a run that's going to bring all these kids together and have a ton of fun? So we organized this thing called the Dragon Run, which is we decided, okay, so to be safe, we're not going to bring kids together. We can't have everybody go to one place. So we made these 3 2-kilometer loops in the city, and we said the run was going to be over a bunch of different days, and that you could choose whichever day you want to go out and you can go run. And we sent all this information out so that parents could pick the dates, pick the location, they could pick the time they want to run for, they could pick the distance they want to run for. And then during the night before, I went out and I chalked all of the different loops so that as kids were running, there was all these like positive messages on the chalk for the whole thing. I did that for all 3 loops that day before. My fingers were super sore from like writing all that chalk. And then it rained that night. It rained. So most of it got wiped away. And I had to go back and I had to go do it all the next day. But we had a ton of fun with it. And I put a song together. I invited teachers to send in sound clips of like them cheering on the kids, just saying like, great job, keep going, don't give up. And I put this song together so that kids could listen to the song as they were running and hear their teachers cheering them on. And then on social media, we were using Instagram, we were using a hashtag. And we were able to go in and we were able to say, okay, Alex is my teaching partner, we're going to be hosting a cheering station at this loop at this time. So kids are running by us and we're like cheering them on. We're spraying them with water guns and everything. And we're taking photos and we're just connecting with kids. We're seeing families posting on social media. We're commenting right away. My wife was going crazy because I was just on Instagram like 24/7 for 3 days in a row. But it was worth it because it really felt like we had this opportunity to bring the school community together and remember what was important. And that just kind of gave us the momentum that we needed to kind of be like, if this is what it's going to be like, we have to remember what's really important, which is putting people first and making sure that we have that strong sense of community and making sure that we're continuing to make those connections. And yeah, so that's one of the wins we had. There was a lot of flops and a lot of, I organized this whole like Target games. You and I worked so hard for it and put it out. I don't think a single kid was able to participate in, because you just don't know. You don't know what it's going to be like at home. But like at the end of the day, it's not the content that matters, it's the people that matter. And we were able to really build those connections, and we're looking forward to doing that in the fall. So we're going back to school right now. We don't really know what the full plan is. We're expecting a second wave, and we know that even in the spring, we were told to keep sharpening the saw in terms of distance learning, because we know we'll probably be going back to that at some point. But when if we do wind up going back to that, I think what's most important is that, like, again, we're keeping those connections going. We're staying close to the community. We're making sure everybody feels involved and everybody feels comfortable with what's going on. And that we just strengthen our school community that way to make sure that we're all healthy and we're doing well. So that's where I'm at right now, Chip.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you jumping on with us. It doesn't sound like it's much different down here than it is up there in Canada. So thank you very much, Joe. Have a great vacation. Hopefully you can stay there for a while. Okay, yeah. Next up, we're going to jump right in here with Kristin Okura. Kristin, I'm going to ask you the question right away. What have you done in the past? What are you doing now to connect with other people? And you're a person who has been a driving force in the Cal Poly, the California Middle School CMS-PEW conference. Where do you get your juice? How do you get your connections? So go. The penguin lady.
Right now, it's coming in the form of coffee with a touch of creamer. But I came up with 5 things going from past to present, because you really can't do this in 7 minutes. But I'm going to try, because everybody who knows me knows I can talk really fast. But the answer is at the end of your hand, and we're going to start with number 1. Number 1 is you got to go to conferences. Nowadays, that includes listening to podcasts and going on Twitter. So go to conferences, be a lifelong learner, get involved, find your niche. I have trouble doing that one. Find your niche. And then, of course, give me a high five. Everybody high five the camera. High five. Share your passion. Thank you so much for that high five. After my first year of teaching, I attended CMS-PEW, what Chip is bragging about and what I got to meet him at, the California Middle School Physical Education Workshop. I was hooked. Ken Bell made a ballroom full of participants do a lap sit. And then Pat Vickroy, who I'm going to mention him again later, just like you did, brought everyone together with his soft-spoken heart. And yeah, I'll talk more about him later. Chip Candy showed us how to make Frisbees fun, like Kate was saying the other day. And he just makes dancing look so cool, that everybody can do it. So from here, I was just hook, line, and sinker. But I needed more. They say the more you learn, the less you know, the more you want to learn. So again, the more you learn, the less you know, the more you want to learn. So every year I would go to another conference. I would add on something else. And then I would always return back to my home base, which was CMS-PEW, adding a state conference, a regional, back when we had those, and then national, and then returning back to my own district and sharing what I found. And I feel that's what we always have to do, is go back and share. And as Kate said the other day too, I found my people. To continue, you got to be that lifelong learner. You got to be that lifelong learner right here. Sign up in your district to show off what you're doing. If there's anything out there, I just kind of grabbed it no matter what. And as there's become less and less for physical education in my area, I went to other things that the district was offering. And one, it was kind of just to see what they were telling administrators, but also just to freak some people out. But there's always something that you can take back and find for yourself. So get involved, whether it be at your local level, whether it be at your state level, just jump in there feet first and get involved. And that then creates your niche. You have to find your niche. What is it going to be? Is it going to be on your own field? Is it going to be in your gymnasium, if you're lucky enough to have one? If you can branch out into other activities on your campus, if you're going to be, getting involved, if your district's too small, go out to other surrounding ones and widen out that net. you just really want to jump in there and make sure that, I know the face-to-face interaction is so vital and important, but EPEW has proven that they can create that same kind of camaraderie here in the virtual, doing what we have to do by making delicious lemonade, basically. But I really found my niche with CMSPW. The man who's going to speak next was crucial in the creating of it. He took the essence of EPEW and brought it down there. Through my involvement as a committee member and then as a director, you really get to know the people behind the scenes. Scott Bowman always stressed to me the importance of the parking lot talks. It's what you're going to hear afterwards that's just as important as what you're going to hear during the session. So with the workshop, we got to bring in all people from everywhere. And these are really true messengers who walk the walk and talk the talk. I owe so much of the teacher that I am today to the mentors that came to the workshop and that became my friends. People who attend the workshop, you always come back and you got a network in there. Mark's a classic example. I see his face and I just love him to death. Hi, Mark. But you keep coming back, and the people that keep coming back, those become your future committee members. And that's how EPEW and CMSPW has built that committee based on people coming back. So I kept saying niche, and I thought I gotta look this word up, and the definition is a job or position that is very suitable to someone, especially one that they like. And that's not totally true because, we love what we do. We truly do love what we do. No one cares what you know until they know you care. And that's the passion part. That's the passion part. So for you that already know me or know my Twitter handle, Penguin PE Lady, you know about my penguin problem. So in fact, people even send me penguins like this one I got from the Jersey boys. Don't let it disguise you because it's small. It's very loud. It's very loud, like my Jersey boys that I love so much. Thank you, Jersey boys. But penguin, besides being a biped that can't fly just like us, it's also an acronym that I created. So looking at the letters, come on, the first two, it's obvious, right? Physical education needs great, unique individuals now. So that's what Penguin means to me. And I share that day one with my students. I share that with anybody that is willing to listen, just like I want all of you to take back everything that you learned, everything that you saw, everything that you experienced and you felt, and share it with your fellow teachers, your admin, your district personnel, and your board of trustees and your parents, because physical education needs great, unique individuals now. And that is everybody that is here at the conference, because if you're here and you clicked on, then you are a lifelong learner. Thanks for getting involved. Wait a minute, find that niche and make sure you share that passion. Thank you so much, EPEW, for making it. I feel like I'm presenting on the parking lot, and I feel like I'm also, anywhere on the Cal Poly San Luis Obispo campus, which is where Chip is giving me my cue card. Thanks, Chip. You coined John to be the godfather of middle school physical education. So if he's the godfather, then you're definitely the crazy uncle. So thank you so much. I know my time is up and I'm going to get muted. It happens to me all the time in board meetings lately because we're in this format, so they love it. They can just go mute. Did I answer my question?
Yes, thank you very much. I just put John Hitchwa up there because I know he's definitely one of your guiding lights too.
Thanks to workshop for getting to know him and everybody else out there. Shout out to Bill Natchenberg too. I saw him.
I saw Bill. Yep. Okay, here we go. It's time. It is time, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to meet Mr. Pat Vickroy. So Pat, I'm just going to give you the question and turn you loose. So Pat has now retired, and he's a retired teacher from Gilroy. So as you look back, what do you think the most important thing is? What's the one thing? What do you think the most important thing we should be giving to our students as a teacher, and what should be the focus of teaching? I'm going to let you turn you loose. Good morning.
Good morning, and Wow, I'm a nervous wreck to do this after all the introduction part. But I really struggled for the last couple of days trying to think what I could possibly say to you all that could make a difference in 5 minutes. It takes a lifetime to connect with people and to really get to know the heart of them. And I guess the one thing that I've taken away from this career that I can say is that I cared. Caring under Don Hellison's models of level of responsibility is the highest level of responsibility. And caring not only about yourself, but caring about others around you and the world in which we live. I think that's probably the most important thing that I've ever taken away from teaching. And as teachers, we have this tremendous opportunity to care about people, and not just the children that we teach, but our community. Everywhere that you go, you connect with the salespeople, the cashiers, the custodians, everybody you connect with, you care about them, and you're going to impact lives. Now, I guess the only way I can really make sense of this to you is by doing what I've been doing for, decades, and is tell you a story. I hope you're okay with this. But one day I was teaching a 4th grade class, and comes little Allison. Allison comes in with a mitt full of tattoos, new ink, they call it, right? And this is a little bit not like Allison. This is a little bit out of the box, and I'm wondering what is going on in my mind as I'm teaching my class. And as I'm teaching, I go over and saddle up to Allison, and I say, I'd like to talk to you after class, as we walk back to the classroom. And so all of a sudden I see she's nervous. She knows that I'm looking at her new ink, and I bet she thinks she's in trouble. So after class, as we're walking up, I talked to her about the tattoos and asked her why. And she goes, oh, I just wanted to do something, and I knew why she wanted attention. She wanted attention, and that was her way of getting it, right? We all know that kids will do things like that. And so I said, Allison, you are amazing the way you are. You don't need to do anything to make you different to yourself. I want you to think about the Mona Lisa painting by Leonardo da Vinci. The painting is a masterpiece. It's one of a kind. It's insured for over $800 million. And I say, you are a masterpiece. You are an amazing masterpiece the way you are. There are no tattoos on the Mona Lisa. There's no jewelry hanging down. It's just pure masterpiece. Tears start streaming down her eyes. She gives me this big giant hug, and she says, Mr. Vickroy, nobody has ever called me a masterpiece. In that one moment, in that single moment of caring for her, caring about her, it felt like I had purpose in my life as a teacher. And it was just one student out of 1,000 that I teach every week. But it made a difference. And I know it made a difference to her, because the next day she came up and said, look, Mr. Vickroy, and she was tattoo free. That was a very heartfelt way to show that I cared. So I guess what I would share with you is to care. Care about everybody and everything. Give every ounce of your energy to caring, and you will impact countless lives. Edith Wharton once said that there's 2 ways of spreading light: to be the candle that sheds it, or the mirror that reflects it. My challenge to you is to be that light. Thank you so much for your time, everybody.
Pat, thank you very much. And I think for everybody else, you can see why they invited Pat to come back year after year after year to EPEW, and why he is truly the heart of the Cal Poly Conference. Pat, thank you very much. You're so appreciated. So listen, we got 1 minute. If everybody If everybody just stand up, if you've been sitting down, just everybody stand up for 1 minute, walk around a little bit, come on back, and we're going to start with Nick Klein in a couple of seconds. Jim Ross, I just saw that you're in the house. Welcome. All right, hopefully you are somewhere close to your computer so that you can at least hear. Hopefully you got up and got to stretch a little bit, because now we're going on rapid fire. We're going every 5 minutes right straight through, and we're going to start right now with Mr. Nick Klein. Nick is an open presenter, and he is one of the most positive people I've met in the business. So it's glad to have you. Here's your question. So you have what's your handle?
At PE Top 5.
Aha, PE Top 5. That's exactly what I want to ask you. What are the top 5 for you, the top 5 skills, activities, top 5 things that you give your kids in elementary school before they go to middle school? What do you think at the end of the years that you have, the 6 years you have, what are the top 5 things that you want them to have? Go.
All right, great. So first of all, I think students should have a foundation in social emotional learning. So those are some of the skills that we have taught in physical education forever. And recently, some of the skills that have been kind of like the hot button issue that a lot of districts and families are talking about more. So that's what we've always done, and that's what we can continue to do. So not just sportsmanship in our class and in sport, but also some of those values, the respect, the responsibility outside to just be a good person. And I think that's one thing we can do right now, and also one way we can advocate for ourselves to do amidst everything that's going on. The second thing is an appreciation for physical education. So I want students to understand that this is a subject, it's not recess, and I want them to know the difference between what physical education and recess looks like, and also want them to know that I am working hard to teach them the skills that they need to be active for a lifetime. One of the I have for this was my first year where I had to share the gymnasium with another teacher who came in because the school is too big for me to be the only teacher. And we had totally different styles and philosophies. She was more roll out the balls, and I wanted to kind of be like a science-based teacher. So when those two worlds collided, we had to learn how to work together and also teach students how to live within those worlds. The third is progress every year. So whatever skill it is that we're working on, whether it's a sport-related skill or fitness, I want students to leave the year better than when they started it. And obviously better from when they started elementary school before they get into middle school. And this is also important for us as teachers. One of the best things that I learned through the National Board certification process was to be reflective. So not just have students improve, but also use that time for reflection to get better at what I do. So the next time I teach that activity, and in the years that follow, is going to be a little bit better because I thought about it and learned from it and got better, and the same for students. Number 4, I want students to be able to understand wellness and to be smart consumers and good decision makers. And nobody's perfect. I don't claim to be the perfect eater or be the best at being active, but I understand and know what those characteristics are. And if I don't make a good choice all the time, I know that I have to turn that around eventually, so that I can be a healthier human being. One year, I had a mother come and she's an amazing person and fun, but when she came to me, she was pretending to be really upset. And she was like, my daughter came home and threw away everything that I bought at the store yesterday. I was like, what did you buy at the store yesterday? I bought 3 boxes of fruit snacks. She came home and threw them all away because of what you did. And obviously she was just joking, but basically like I had a healthy tip of the day, and it was, do fruit snacks contain fruit? And a lot of the students said yes. And then we had that teachable moment where we learned that they actually do not contain fruit. So the student went home and threw away the fruit snacks. I thought it was pretty awesome. I told the mother that. And last, I don't think I can do it justice, but basically what I was going to say for the last one was what Pat just said in the conversation before. I think students need to know that you care about them. This is probably the most important thing, as he emphasized. Students are not going to learn as well in your class, and they're not going to kind of appreciate what you're trying to do for them if they don't think that you care for them. So definitely be that champion, be that role model, be that mentor, and make students feel appreciated. So I think I did. I set a timer, so 5 minutes. Chip, thank you so much for having me here.
Nick, very, very nice to have you. Appreciate it. We're going to move right on. We're going to keep rolling. The next person up is Mr. Calvin Tram Pleasure. Calvin is an ex-professional bike racer. He is also an ex-physical education teacher and now teaches kindergarten. And for those of you who were not on early, let me just tell you that I got to see Calvin teach, and I have never seen anyone teach in a classroom better than what I saw. He is truly the master of master teachers, and I'm not blowing smoke here. It was absolutely amazing to watch him. So Calvin, you now teach kindergarten. All of us who teach kindergarten will say the same thing. You're going to have to share what you do, because that's like herding butterflies for most of us. So what is the trick? What is the secret to teaching kindergarten, and what have you done to do it so well?
Well, hey, Chip, first of all, I have to say I'm totally in shock. I've never seen so many physical education teachers sit still for so long. And as a kindergarten teacher, just good morning, everyone. I've taught for 34 years, as Chip mentioned. And I guess I was supposed to talk about class management, which to me is more like, well, I came up with the rainbow of 6 colors to guide 5-year-old learning. And I don't know if it's really management. It's more like guiding or facilitation of all that energy. And I usually have 24 students, and you can see that's my classroom rug. It's all rolled up now, but you see my classroom rug. Anyway, the 5 rainbow colors of guiding that 5-year-old energy. The first one, of course, is sing. And, you know, starting the day with things like, I think I can, are words I like to say. I think I can, are words I like to say. In time I'll get it right, if I try with all my might. I think I can, are words I like to say. And I met Dr. Jean, I think 15 years ago at Cal Poly, and I went to the kindergarten conference for kindergarten teachers in California, right across from where the Niners play. And I guess I realized there and then that the kind of music she uses for phonics, we do a lot of phonics in kindergarten, really keeps my spirit alive and keeps the kids engaged. So lots and lots of music is number one. Number two is just smile and laugh. You know, enjoy the day with kindergarten. Use humor. There's so many incredible wordplay, like them little jokes and silly little things that are just fun. So delight in words. And having had a tumor and gone through radiation and some herb treatments a few years ago, enjoying each day is, if you've gone through any life-threatening situation, or you know people who have, you really do get a renewed appreciation of every single day. Number three in that rainbow is stories. You know, make them up as you go. When we're doing phonics and things, you know, rhyming words are so fun. And I got this idea from my wife. Her librarian at her school uses student names. Put student names into the stories you make up. And, you know, with CVC words, just make stuff up and trust your instincts, as long as sticking to whatever plan you had. The fourth one is, classic books too. There's so many incredible picture books that teach so many values. Fourth one, better keep moving along, is find the hidden treasure. John Rattay, in one of his books before Spark, about delivered from distraction, I think it was, talks about finding the hidden treasure. And especially in ADH kids who can't sit still, and like probably all of you I'm speaking to, we all have these hidden treasures. And in each child, if you start finding what that is, and they know that you know it, you build a really deep and meaningful connection. I guess the fifth one is the one you've all been waiting for, play and move to learn. Of course, don't need to say too much about that to this group. And learning stations in kindergarten, I mean, we have blocks, we have Legos, we have flexi blocks, trains, clay, puzzles, and then engagement with, hands-on. Piaget was really right about the concrete operational. And so just play with things and dancing and moving. I think I have a minute to go. Oh, number 6 would be SEL. And of course, there's so many ways that most of you know how to do that, and you're still developing those things. We use Toolbox at our school. There's some great kind of mindfulness in the moment sort of songs on the Toolbox CD. I also pull from my own experience. Let's see, Mantis. Do you know about Mantis? Kung Fu Panda and The Secrets of the Furious Five. Just watch The Secrets of the Furious Five, and you'll see they each teach a character value. And Mantis is my favorite. He has to learn patience. So I think that's it. I'd like to end with a few quotes since I'm almost out of time. John Gatto, 3-time New York Teacher of the Year, said, "There are as many learning styles as there are fingerprints." Chip Candy said, "Talk from your heart to their hearts." He also said, this is one of my all-time favorites, Chip, "Even if you don't see it or hear it, it doesn't mean it isn't happening." So don't let the bean counters and assessment people bring you down, and keep your joy in teaching. And those most challenging kids, the rascals, remember they're your teachers, and they're refining or clarifying your own kind of teaching chops or skills, and they're polishing your personal character. Even though they're driving you crazy, it's a gift.
All right. Thank you, Calvin, and appreciate your time. We're going to keep moving on here. We're going to one of my favorite people in the whole world, Lisa Fogg. So Lisa, good morning. How are you? Are you unmuted?
Good. I am good. Can you hear me?
We can now hear you. Yes.
Okay.
So Lisa, good morning and welcome. So Lisa was one of the first people that I met at the EPEW conference, and she is now a former physical education teacher, now teaching 5th grade. But at the time, she was probably one of the best presenters, I think, not only in California but in the country. And she was really, really, really good. And lots of people, we would always go to her sessions. That was one that you never wanted to miss. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions here, even though you're only getting one. One would be, how'd you get into 5th grade? 2, do you miss physical education? And 3, how did you get mentored? Like, who were the first people who mentored you in teaching physical education? And so, yeah, go.
Okay. Well, I don't feel worthy to be here because, oh my God, you guys are amazing. But yeah, I'm Lisa Fogg. I'm a 5th grade teacher now. It's my second love. Physical education was my first. And thanks for asking me to be here. I wrote all my stuff down so I won't forget anything. But the reason I'm in 5th grade now is that they had the budget cuts in 08, 09. And for every year I would go to the school board before then and give a presentation. And then they just started cutting. And even though I went to school board, I was one of the last, our elementary program was one of the last things to be cut. They cut science before they cut our physical education program. But that's why, and it's a good thing to have a backup credential because I did have a multiple subject as well. And even though I'd been there 17 years, I was probably going to be reassigned somewhere else. So have a backup credential is what I'm doing. And again, I enjoy 5th grade. Been in it about 10 years now, and I'm getting better at it. But the second part, who were some of my mentors? Well, a lot of them are here today, actually. and I did write it down, so if I look down, sorry. So Artie was one of the first guys I met, and he taught me about publishing. Get your stuff in a newsletter, share, share, share. And so I'm really grateful for what he did, his newsletters, his lessons and everything. Pat Vickroy, Pat taught me to stand for something, to, like he said, to care about something, and to be a nice person always. And that's Pat to me. Ken Bell, I saw Ken Bell was here as well. Ken taught me about team and trust building exercises, activities to get kids to work together, and educational gymnastics, to keep teaching gymnastics however you can, and to keep learning. Chip taught me, be yourself. Make sure you do what you need to do to be yourself and forget about it. And whenever possible, remind people that everything great came from New Jersey. Jack Murtha. Jack was one of the sweetest guys I ever met, and he taught dance. He taught square dances, and I went to a lot of his sessions about teaching K-3 square dances, and I still have his music. Wendy Jones. Wendy reminded me to do assessments, give kids feedback. And then my buddies, Mark Damiani and Calvin Tram Pleasure, to stay in touch with people. You go to these conferences, you meet up, stay in touch, network with people, and make some friends. And then I don't know if you remember Lefty Shell. Lefty was one of the first guys I met too in the conferences, and he taught me to be a little crazy when you're teaching. But I could go on, but I have 5 minutes. And then Rudy Benton. Rudy was he was the one that was my all-time hero. And I heard of him. People said, you got to go see Rudy, got to go see Rudy. So finally I did. And that was a turning point in my teaching, because I was in his workshop or his session, and I was just amazed. I laughed. My emotions went wild. I had to work with people. It was creative. It was energetic. It was full of energy. And I felt important in that lesson. And it was so creative. I had multiple partners. And it was at that moment I thought, this is how my students need to feel every day. And that was what I needed to do. So I had a goal, and I had somebody, and that was as close to perfection as I had ever seen a lesson. So from that day on, Rudy, I went to every workshop he put on. I went to every session he did. I had him come to my school and speak. I went to his school and I watched him teach. And we talked on the phone for hours, and he made me laugh. He didn't know it, but I took notes when we were listening on the phone. And he taught me it wasn't just about physical education. Well, you're not just a physical education teacher, you're teaching children. And it's not just the lesson, it's everything that surrounds the lesson that makes it important. And he became my number one role model, and I became his number one groupie. So Rudy gave me the direction. Like Artie, he published and he shared everything. Like Pat, he stood for something, got kids going to college, he got them to never smoke. Like Ken, he taught kids to get along. Like Chip, he taught you to be yourself. He taught me to be myself. And he talked about New Jersey a little bit too. Like Jack, he did a lot of dance. Like Wendy, he did assessments. It was almost always authentic assessments. That's what he stood for. And like Mark and Calvin, he taught me to keep in touch, and we kept in touch. And then like Lefty, he was a little crazy. So I know all the people mentioned here have a lot of the same qualities as Rudy, but he was my perfect role model. And I guess I had a few perfect lessons in my day. I'll take that. And I still strive for that as 5th grade. And am I up? Is my time up? I don't know. But I just want to say, I really appreciate you letting me put my 2 cents in here and give my 5 minutes. And Chip, if you didn't know that New Jersey has more diners than anywhere else in the world. So, but thanks for letting me be here. And
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for being here. Lisa, where are you from?
I'm from Jersey.
There you go. Like all of us, everybody originally came from New Jersey, I think. Okay, All right. So since we're doing that, we're going to go to another New Jersey teacher. We're going to Mr. Jim Ross. This is for those of you who don't know, he's one of my best buddies here. He just came off a vacation. He is one of the Jersey boys. He is a former physical education teacher. There it is, Camp Caesar. Former physical education teacher. He was the Eastern District Teacher of the Year. He's gotten every award in New Jersey that possible. He started a conference in our state called the Lake Conference, and he's now gone to the dark side. He's now a principal. So I'm going to ask you as a principal, what do you want from your phys ed teacher? What do you think they should bring to your school?
Well,
Mr. Ross.
first, I am in my kitchen because I'm on quarantine per my superintendent, based on my vacation that I went through 13 different states for. So what do I want out of my physical educator? I happen to have a very good physical educator. She's very creative, very enthusiastic. We're a pre-K to 3 building. She sees the kids one time each week for 40 minutes. I'm looking for 3 things: activity, connections, and educational fun. And I'm going to get into that a little bit. So I go right to the what, where, when, why, how, and when kind of thing to answer questions like this. So the what: do you have clear, measurable objectives? Are they aligned with state standards or competencies? Do you have a lesson plan? Do you have a curriculum map or assessment map that tells you where you're going? Do you have a plan? The bottom line is, are you teaching with a purpose, and is intentional learning evident? That's number 1. The how do you teach? What is your style? Do you have active lessons? Are you communicating with kids? How are you communicating with kids? I go back, I think I did a session at EPEW with the 5 F's of a highly successful lesson. Number 1, fast setup, not a lot of equipment. Get the kids going, get them moving. Number 2, few rules. You can always add rules as you go along and make it more complicated as the skill and the understanding increases. Feedback, positive and frequent. That makes you provide the why for the student. That's part of the connection with what you're doing. Foster creativity, responsibility, team building, problem solving. We are so much more than just movement in physical education. And focus on a purpose. Adjust your games, adjust your activities to increase your student skill and the understanding. All right, focus, you don't teach the game of basketball, you teach parts of it. You're using basketball or soccer or those types of activities to teach specific skills and understanding of concepts. Now the why. PE is, like I said, PE is more than just movement and fun. In fact, don't ever tell me you're doing it because the kids are having fun. Kids love movement. We don't have to tell them that. Everything we do is fun. When a parent or colleague or administrator asks you as a physical education, what do you do and why do you do it? I'm interested in how you answer. You should become, your goal, I think the goal of a PE teacher should become the heartbeat of your school community. Are your program goals, are your PE goals aligned with the school initiatives? Become part of the school. Don't sit back in your gym. Do you support other programs? Do you have any cross-curricular activities? Do you know what's going on in your school? That makes you a valuable part of the school. And are you valuable, again, are you valuable outside of your gymnasium? Do you get out into the school? Do you get out into the classrooms? Do you participate in staff meetings? Do you know what's going on in the school? The most important part, though, the most important thing out of all these questions is the who. Do you know your kids? What are their strengths and struggles? I would suggest, if you haven't yet, if you don't know Manny Scott, Google Manny Scott. Listen to what he has to say. One of the things, one of the quotes I took back is, invest as much time in understanding who you teach as you do in understanding what you teach. All kids are not physically adept all-stars as we were growing up. Are you able to teach and address all those levels? And now I've got about a minute. Trauma, the amount of trauma kids are experiencing, understand where they're coming from, what their background is. Kids that are even in my school have been brought up differently than I have been brought up. I have got to understand what they are going through, what their family is going through. So last thing, connect with your colleagues inside of school, outside of school. More importantly, connect with your kids. That's what I'm looking for. That's it. I'm in my kitchen, and I think my cookies are going to go off pretty soon. My oven's right behind me. So I've been baking this morning. So,
All right.
As well as working.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ross, for your time. Welcome back from your vacation. Tell Marie I said hello. Is she there?
No, she's not.
Okay. All right. Okay. Next up, we have one of my buddies, a person who, if you don't know Mark, all you have to do is you meet him one time and you are instantly a friend for life. This is Mr. Mark Damiani. He is sitting out on his back deck in Watsonville. Are you actually in Watsonville?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
So he's in Watsonville, and for those of you who don't know, that's like the berry capital of the United States. All of our berries come from Watsonville. All right. So you've been attending EPEW for years and did an amazing keynote a while back. What have you taken back from EPEW? And kind of following up on what Jim Ross said, what do you bring to the table? So Jim said, what does he want? What do you bring to the table in your school? Because I know you are way beyond just a physical educator in your building. Go.
Thank you. I'm starting my timer. So yes, I've been to EPEW 21, 22 times. And I know you said no thank yous, but it's part of my thing. I want to tell you, sometimes you'll have a friend or someone will tell you, hey, I read this book or I went to this conference or whatever, and it changed my life. I always ask, really? How? And typically people say, oh, well, that's an expression. Okay. EPEW changed my life. And that's not an expression for me. Let me tell you what happened, and it'll tie into your question. I went to EPEW after my first year of teaching, ready to quit. Lisa Fogg introduced herself to me, came over, took me under her wing, gave me an I love you pin, and introduced me to Chip. Those two took me under their wings and stayed with me and took me to every session. And Lisa ended up making me a part of her presentation. Just took me right in. So how has it changed my life? How has it changed my life by going there? I made a few notes here. Okay, so when I went, what I brought back to my school and how it's changed my life is that I had nothing. And when I left that first conference, I had curriculum, I had friends, I had mentors, I had a enlarged family, I had a new attitude, I was recharged. I even had equipment from Chip, who kind of bent the rules and got me some of the equipment ahead of time. I had a truckload of equipment when I went back. Okay, what do I bring back from here? Connection. It's all about connection for me. It's all about love. If you don't love the kids, change careers. Sorry, but that's just the way it is. If you don't love kids, do something different. The biggest family in the world is right here at EPEW. Right now, you're getting a master's class, okay? You're getting a master's class. This stuff that we get, you've got to give it away to keep it, all right? You've got to give it away. Mentor people. You have something to share. I don't care if it's your first year teaching or your 35th year teaching. You have experiences that you can share. What else we got going on here? So having an open heart and knowing your kids, like what Jim was talking about, that's what I bring. I live in the town where I teach. It's my adopted hometown. And I'm trying to check my timer. It's my adopted hometown. So when I'm walking through town, I see my kids, okay? They see me. I'm in the grocery store, and I teach K-8. I'm gonna get a kid looking at me at the aisle like that. What are you doing here? Sometimes kids come walking out the aisle. The mom or dad might not recognize recognize me. It's going behind your cranium, maxilla, mandible, iliac crest, scapula. I got that from Lisa Fogg. Okay, little chants, little things like that. What do we want? What do we want to give our kids? Okay, what do I want to give our kids? I want them to have a lifelong love of movement. All right. I want them to love dance. I don't care about sport. Physical education is just a vehicle. I mean, I love sport, but physical education is just a vehicle to make heartfelt connections with our kids so that they feel loved and comfortable, and they can share that with other kids and bring it to other kids throughout their life. And when they become adults, that they're loving, fully rounded human beings, empathetic and caring. That's what we do. We show them how to do that. I get kids in kindergarten, okay? They're 4 or 5 years old, and I graduate them out. I give their commencement speech every year. I'm the one teacher in the school that's had them all their whole lives. I've had kids tell me, tell their graduating people there at their graduation ceremony, well, I want to thank Teacher Mark because he practically raised me. Okay, that's not kudos for me. That's how we can be for those kids. Okay. If you have a bucket, a rope, a set of flags, and music, you're set. You can teach 1,000 games. You can connect every kid with every other kid at that school. It doesn't matter if they're in shape or not in shape. That kid's going to get up and move. You put the music on, encouragement. I'm out of time. I don't know if that made sense to anybody. I'm coffeeed up and enthusiastic because I love seeing all you guys. I love my life. You can too. Music, dance, love, connection, hugs, free hugs. That's what it's all about for me. Thank you for the opportunity, Chip. Did I answer the question?
Yes, sir. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yeah, that was it. That's what we wanted. Love you, brother.
You.
All right.
Love you
Next
too.
up, from his home down in North Carolina, we have the great Artie Camilla. And for those of you who don't know Artie, he is literally the godfather of physical education, not elementary, not middle school, not high school, but of all physical education. Artie, we know that from seeing things online, that you've been hard at work writing a book, and the book is How to Be an Outstanding Physical Education Teacher. Is it in your hands yet?
Not yet. It's still in the printer.
It's got to be close though, right? It's got to be close. So you had a lot of people who were involved in it, a lot of people who gave you input. What did you learn? What's the one thing that we should do to move towards excellence in teaching?
Here it is. Here's the one thing. I am a physical educator. I am flexible, resilient, and proud. When I'm asked to step into difficult situations, I will be confident of my abilities. When asked to change or adapt, I will adapt. If confronted with a series of tasks that would tend to throw many people off balance, I will prioritize each task and complete them one by one. I will go the extra mile if asked, perhaps even two. Why do I do these things? Is it for the credit? No. Is it for career advancement? No. Is it for the extra money? Perhaps fame? No. It is because I am a physical education teacher. I will demand more of me because I know and believe in the important role I play, and because of the children and youth who count on me to be my best every day. Together, we are physical educators. We are flexible, we are resilient, and we are proud. When we are asked to step into difficult situations, We are confident of our abilities. When asked to change or adapt, we will adapt. If confronted with a series of tasks that tend to throw most people off balance, we will prioritize each task and complete them one by one. We will go the extra mile if asked, perhaps even two. Why do we do these things? Is it for the credit? No. Is it for career advancement? No. Extra money? Perhaps fame? No. It's because we are physical education teachers. We will demand more of ourselves because we know the important roles we play and because of the children and youth that count on us to be our best every day. And lastly, you are a physical educator. You are flexible, resilient, and proud. When you are asked to step into difficult situations, you will be confident of your abilities. When you are asked to change or adapt, you will adapt. If confronted with a series of tasks that would tend to throw anyone else, other people off balance at your school, in your school system, in your community, you will not be deterred. You will prioritize each task and you will complete them one by one. You will go the extra mile if asked, perhaps two. And why do you do these things? Is it for the extra credit? No. Is it for your own personal career advancement? No. Extra money? No. Fame? No. It's because you are a physical education teacher. You will demand more of yourself because you know the important roles you play and because of the children and youth who count on you to be your best every day. That's it, Chip. I'm done.
Thank you, sir. That was amazing. Yeah, great. And we're looking forward to the book. We can't wait for that to come out. So hopefully that'll be soon.
It'll be out pretty soon, I hope. Fingers crossed.
Okay. We can check your web page, right? We can check.
I'll post it on Facebook and Twitter.
Okay, good enough. All right, thank you very much.
Yes,
All
sir.
right,
Thank you.
next up is one of my best friends from off the road, Mr. JD Hughes, who's down there in Georgia. JD, as well as being many award winner and so forth, you're also one of the best presenters, probably one of the top 1 or 2 presenters in the country. But what about your school? Like, what makes your program at your school special? What's your focus and like what's your why in school?
Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks, Chip. I know you said don't say thanks, but you've been a mentor of mine, and I greatly appreciated your influence in my life. My dog Peso now wants to start barking. As I've been watching this, the speakers, I've been reflecting this whole time, and I'm like, what did I want to know, especially early on in my career, because I was pretty clueless. So what I want to tell you guys is your physical education will evolve over time. My why initially as a high school coach was when that ended, I ended up in an elementary school, and my why at that time as a newlywed 22-year-old was survival in my class, and I needed a paycheck, even though I did not want to teach elementary school. And I fell in love with those little kids, and of course they became my why. And every one of those kids that walked through my door became my why. And I learned that, these kids need a skill set. So I focused on just skills. And that's what got me writing, because it became more than about skills. Like, well, how can I make the learning of skills fun? Even just going out and running, how can I make that even more fun? How can I make throwing fun and catching and all those things fun? So I started writing games, and that's where I got connected with Artie, of course, through great activities. That's where my first stuff ever showed up. And of course, then down the road, he got me connected with human kinetics. And so thank you, Artie, for that. But the unique thing about my program is I see the kids 90 days out of the year. So every other day. So I'm blessed to have that time with them. And I wanted to throw as many things at them. So in those 90 days, I have about 70 different lessons that I teach throughout the year. So I'm like, okay, I'm giving them a ton of stuff. But the funny thing is, even though I came up with all these ideas, I'm like, okay, I've arrived. But again, another evolution that took place was, wait, I'm still having struggles in my class. I'm throwing different stuff at them. It's not monotonous. It's not boring. It's different. But I still was struggling with behavior issues, the communication amongst my students and the teamwork, and that stuff just wasn't there. And as many of you know, your kind of your second responsibility is being a counselor. And I spent most of my time in physical education focused on putting out small fires all during class. I'm like, just play the activities the way I have them set up. So then I embraced the fact, another part of my evolution is, you know what, these kids, you know, what better place in PE to teach life skills and social skills, the social emotional learning that, you know, is big right now. I kind of figured that out many years ago. So I started designing my games because again, my focus was skills. Then I decided, you know what, let's get my K1 students, let's focus on those skills, teacher-led, my stations and all that. But look, when they get to second, third grade and up, I'm going to start using my games as a platform to teach those things that I'm having problems with still in class. So then my focus in my writing was put them in situations where they have to communicate, where they have to work together, where they have to listen, and all those things that are life skills that they don't walk into my doors having. And let me put them in that situation. And you know what? Hey, if you can't figure that part out in class, guess what? You're going to lose. Well, kids don't want to lose. So they learn to figure those things out. So that's what my focus became. It evolved into, okay, skills through game, make sure they're fun and they enjoy them. Put them in situations where they're forced to talk in their small groups, where they're forced to figure out, hey, someone needs to go do that job in that position and all that. Hey, I can't figure out what we need to do. Let's talk about it. So those are the things that my program has evolved to. Not only do we do a different lesson almost every day, when they walk into that gym, they don't know what's coming at them that day. So they're excited about that. And I know that everything I teach does not appeal to 100% of my kids, but they know that, you know what, even though dancing may not be my favorite thing today, we're not going to spend more than a few days on that, or basketball or football or whatever. I'm going to throw everything that I can at them so that they can be average to above average in everything, so that when they get to middle school and high school, they can focus on those things. But the skills are just the small part of it in my class. It's really that social emotional learning, so that when they come into my gym that day, every kid in there can go, I got a chance to do very well today. It's not an athlete absorbed environment where they're going to dominate. Everybody has an equal opportunity to be successful, because it's more than just about a skill, the skill level. It's about okay, if we can figure this out together and communicate and come up with strategy and things like that, then we're going to do very well in this class. So I think that's, as a young teacher, know that it's going to take time. It's going to build off from me being a high school teacher that was clueless about elementary, who fell in love with it. And as the years have gone by, my program has evolved into, my why has changed many times as far as what I feel like I need to do with my program. So I hope does that kind of answer your question, Chip?
Yes, sir. That answers my question. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much. All right. And now we have the world famous and EPEW famous. How many times you figure you presented EPEW, Ken?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. 15, 16, I don't know, a lot.
And then add the middle school conference in there. Yeah, you've been a regular. You've been a regular.
Yeah.
So that's where my relationship with Ken has come from. So you are now, you've come out of the George Graham branch. Your class that worked with George Graham was absolutely an amazing group of people. And so you're now teaching basically physical education teacher prep program at Boise State. You're head of that. So what are you doing at the college level to assure that your students, teachers are getting it? And what's different about your program that is producing highly qualified, and you were telling me highly employable teachers? You said almost every single kid is getting out and getting a job. So what are you doing? Go.
Well, first, I'd like to say thanks for inviting me to this. And as I see all these people talking, I'm just like, oh my gosh, if there's not hope for physical education in this world, you're crazy. I've spent my whole life trying to promote quality physical education, and I'm doing my part here in Idaho, and it sounds like a lot of other people are doing their part in other parts of the country. And so there's great hope for a great profession. What I'm doing, let me just go back a little bit and say that I came to Boise about 25 years ago. When I first got here, they had lost their high school requirement for physical education. And in my interview process, they said, well, what could you do to bring this back? And I said, well, when they cut it, how many people were on the State House steps? Crickets. So I told them, I said, well, you got what you deserved. If we don't teach high quality physical education, why should people want it? And so that was my plan, and they still hired me. And so that was the jumping off point for me, and started working with all these young college students. And the challenge for me is I broke this thing down into basically 5 little pieces here for me. The most important thing was to recruit the right people. And so in our program, we bring students in, and there's no guarantees that they get to stay in the program, because I want to make sure that we have the right people who care about kids, just like all these people have mentioned already, that they love kids and they're in it for the right reasons. My own son, I turned down from our program. He was a standout football player at Boise State, and I knew he wanted to teach physical education so that he could coach, not necessarily teach. Now, if he wanted to teach and coach, awesome, great. But I turned my own son away, and it's like, wow, that's harsh. Well, so be it. But we recruit the right people. And so I remember at the California Middle School Conference, when I had made a decision to leave teaching and to go into higher education, I was in a dormitory with Chip Candy, John Flemian, Steve Brucker, a number of the heroes of the profession. And I asked them to give me some words of advice. And they said, they went in the other room and bashed around on the walls and smashed on things and made all this noise and came out and said, we got one thing for you. Don't forget where you came from. And I haven't. That's my goal is to stick to my roots. The people who have presented before me here, there's an amazing cadre of people out there doing amazing things for kids. And so the bottom line is to recruit the right people, I have to make sure they're there for the right reason. So I haven't forgotten or lost my roots. So the big question is for all of us is, how do people learn how to teach? They learn how to teach by the way they were taught. And so if that model is flawed, then I get this person who comes to me after 13 or 15 years of apprenticeship on how to teach, and I have to just totally revamp everything they've learned. And the way I do that is by building relationship with them, just like I built relationship with my students that I was teaching in elementary and middle school. So all the faculty teach freshman activity classes. 5 weeks after students start in our program, I'm on a wilderness adventure with them, and last year 140 middle school teachers and a number of my former students who are teachers, and we're teaching my students what physical education is all about. Building relationships with students, meeting their needs, finding out what they need to learn, what's important to them, And really, I'm studying my students as freshmen and building relationship with them so that I can figure out how to best reach them and communicate this message of high quality physical education to them. So immediately I start feeding them the Kool-Aid, and they get to see it. I teach kids. My former students who are on this trip as teachers, they're teaching kids. My students are teaching kids. So from the very beginning, I know how important that practical experience is, that they have to get out there and they have to start teaching kids right away, but it's got to be guided. Otherwise, what happens is they fall back on the teaching practices that they learned as a student. And it's so easy to do. And that's why teaching practices have not changed much in this country, is because we have this flawed model. And students, when they're put in a tough situation, they go back to that model. So I think that's really, really important. We have lots of guided field experience, all the experiences, all the classes that the students take, like I expressed in this outdoor adventure class that I teach, they're teaching kids. And I surround my students with high quality teachers. That is the most important thing. Those of you who are out there have to realize is that they don't care what I think. Oh, university professors out of touch with reality. They look at the heroes of the profession, and that's you as the teachers out there. They listen to you because you're doing the job working with kids, and they see what you're doing. And so all of my mentors that I use are former students. I have a relationship with all of my students, and it can be a lifelong relationship with them that I've built, just like I built with kids in school. It's got to be about relationship. And so I built a relationship with them, and those relationships go for a long time. I just got off a wilderness fly fishing trip with 6 former students, college students, who are teachers in the area, who are on George Graham's Master Teacher Series. They are outstanding teachers. And that's the kind of people that I want mentoring my students. So you as teachers out there have a responsibility to mentor your students. Mentor other PE people around you, bring them under your wing, like I've heard so many times mentioned in this group here, is we've got to do that with each other and to build a community of practice. My community of practice is at the 10 Barrel Brewery in downtown Boise, and I meet down there with lots of former students, and we talk shop and we talk life and we live life together. And it's really, really important to do that, because you can't do this on your own. And that's where I want to conclude with that if it weren't for the elementary physical education workshop at Cal Poly, I would not be the person that I am today. Going there and learning and rubbing elbows with such high quality teachers and people who care about kids is just absolutely what we need to do. It's just an honor and a thrill to have a chance to talk to you. And people are saying 5 minutes, holy mackerel. I was so nervous about this because I could take 3 days, 3 years to talk to you about all the things I've learned from these people and how incredible this profession can be if it's done well. So thank you so much. I hope I answered your question, Chip.
Sounds good. Yes, thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Amazing stuff. All right, we have one last presenter, and we're interrupting his golf game, believe it or not. We're now going to go to Pinehurst. And I think we're at Pinehurst 2. Is he in the house? I don't see him. We're waiting for Peter. There he is. Peter St. Pierre is joining us.
There he is.
Hopefully he's joining us from the golf course. How's the game today?
Game is awesome today. We're playing number 2, made a few birdies so far. It's just gorgeous weather down here. I hate to tell you all that while I'm here, but yeah, we're having a great time.
All right, so I'm going to ask you your question and let you roll so you can get down the course and don't hold up the roll here.
Fire
so
away.
you are also teaching at the college level. You're teaching at Kennesaw, which is down in Georgia, for those of you who don't know, Kennesaw State. And you are also in the teacher prep program. What do you think they need and how do you provide it? So what do you think that your students need and how are you providing that for them? Because it's an interesting story.
Yeah, I'm going to echo a lot of the things that Ken was just talking about, but we'll run with it anyway. Our mission at Kennesaw State University is to send out knowledgeable and passionate teachers. I got to this place in a very weird way. I went to college when I was in my 30s, and I was an undergraduate with a lot of 18 to 20-year-olds who didn't know quite what I knew. And so my journey was weird, and I enjoyed college. I was going to be a physical education teacher, but I didn't know anything about physical education. I just knew it was the most fun course in school, so that's what I'm going to be. So when I went back to college, that's what I took. And I found out that I didn't know anything about physical education, and I needed to learn along the way. Since that journey, it's been well over 25 years now, and I made my way to higher education. And as Ken said just a little bit earlier, there are students that come into our programs with 18 years of physical education, but they don't have 18 years of great physical education in a lot of cases. So we have to untrain them a little bit. And so our main mission is to develop knowledgeable, passionate people and send them out into the world to do what all of you listening are doing. And that is to engage our learners to find something that they are good at doing and to do it. So how do we do that? Well, what do our students need? A lot of knowledge. So what we try to do is give them a lot of variety of knowledge. We talk about movement frameworks and Graham's model. We talk about Hellison's social responsibility model. And that's really big now because SEL is the up and coming thing. And we talk about sport ed model, and we talk about teaching games for understanding. And we think our students need a well-rounded theoretical background to move forward and find some way that they're good at teaching. Some like the movement framework, some like the sport ed model, and they'll go forward with it because they're passionate about it. A lot of the passion that we talk about is intrinsic, and there's not a lot we can do to give students passion. Sorry, I got to grab my cart and walk while we go here. It's an intrinsic thing, and so we try to find students that are passionate about what we're doing and want to become really good teachers. Bear with me. We're on a walk up number 13. And so we give them knowledge, and the passion part I really wanted to get to, because passion is what comes from, I heard Mark Damiani talking earlier about family, and I think the passion for physical education comes from being in a family of physical educators. And the way we do that is through conferences. My aha moment in teaching physical education, if you will, was being an undergraduate at 35 years old, going to my first conference. It was at New Hampshire APEW, and I met Chip, and I met Jim Ross, and I met John Smith, John Hitchwa, and they were the guys that made me passionate about physical education. See if I can get you out of the sun. And that was my aha moment. That was the passion piece for me, and I try to get that back to my students. And the way we do that is, as Ken said earlier, also more practical experiences are better. So we give them theoretical knowledge, get them out in the field working with students, and we do that as early as we can. I do a adapted PE practical model where they work with students with disabilities for 6 weeks in a sport program called Unified Games. And then what we do is I encourage as many as I can to become part of the Majors Club, and then to go to conferences and present at conferences. And in the past few years, I've stepped up my game a little bit. I actually started a foundation account for student travel for PE majors, and we get students to conferences, and they get this aha moment themselves. And so a lot of that moment that made me want to be a physical education teacher, I hope makes them want to be a better physical education teacher. And so New Hampshire APEW was the start, Eastern District, and then finally went to Nationals. I came back to school and said, wow, look how amazing this is. And I loaded up 5 students the next year, and off we went. And then we loaded up 10 students, and off we went to Nationals and everything we could get to, as long as we could find a little funding. And I think the big piece for me for conferences is that feeling of family. You get to know people like Jim Ross, like Chip Candy, and they become family, and they just give you more passion about what we do and why it's so important, because the kids is what it's all about. And if we give kids something that they're good at. It doesn't have to be a sport. It doesn't have to be gymnastics. It can just be walking with their parents or whatever it is. And the passion to move, I think, is the biggest part of what we do for a job. Chip, I think I'm going to leave you here. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Hit your next shot. Where are you right now?
I'm on 13. Hold on to see if I can get you a view.
Oh, sheesh. Yeah, that looks really rough. That looks like
Yeah.
that looks like a
It's
rough
a tough
day. All
line
right.
to
Well,
come
listen, you go suffer on the course. It was nice having you.
I'll be there. Thank you for including me in this, Chip. It's been a wonderful journey with you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Have fun. Have fun.
Thank you.
Okay. Well,
Bye-bye.
this wraps us up. And so thank you all for being here. Thank you to all of obviously to the many presenters who have come to us from around the country. We have hit 6, 7, 8, 9 different states. We've hit 2 different countries. But I also want to thank obviously the committee who has put this together. This is quite an undertaking. They thought they were going to have 100 maybe people come to this, or maybe 200, and they've had over 1,500 people sign up. We've had all 1,500 in that. Oh no, we haven't had quite that many, but we've had quite a few. So thank you to everybody who jumped on with us this morning, especially those out in California who were up early to see this. Scott, thank you. But special shout out to Matt Bassett, who's been the technology guy to get this done. Matt, I don't know where you are, but thank you very much for getting us online, and hopefully everybody got everything. And I took a bunch of notes. I don't know about you, but I got a bunch of notes down here. So thank you all for coming. We'll stay on for another 2 or 3 minutes. If anybody has any questions you want to jump on with, unmute yourself and you can ask. There's still quite a few of the presenters. I think almost all of them are still on here. So anything that you want to say hello, whatever you like.
I don't think I have a question, but I'm going to interrupt really quickly and kind of say thank you, Chip, and to the presenters today, because I cannot tell you how much I think that you have embodied what is EPEW in a perfect 90 minutes like you did today. And this was just absolutely amazing. So thank you to all of you that have shared, and thank you to sharing today. And we're getting a lot of comments on the chat and through social media about that people feel like, even though we went virtual this year, that they still are feeling a part of our new family. So thank you for sharing about that.
All right, good. It looks like I got about 1 minute up according to my clock. So I guess we're going to clock off. Thank you everybody for being here. We do appreciate it. And keep doing what you're doing. This is, Artie will tell you that one of our buddies says that you have 2 choices when you teach. And the 2 choices you have are to be enthusiastic or to be enthusiastic. It's your choice. But be enthusiastic. And Artie, who that's for. That's for our good buddy, Larry Mack, who is doing very poorly and is one of the rocks in physical education. And so our thoughts and prayers go out to Larry Mack. And again, you can be enthusiastic or you can be enthusiastic. It's your choice. That might have come from Artie Camilla, but I know I've heard Max say it many times. So thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. And again, Matt, thank you very much for doing this. This was awesome. Very, very cool. Very cool. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chip.
Thank you, Matt.